Welcome to the IntuSuccess podcast, where intuition meets entrepreneurship. In each episode, we delve into the power of intuitive thinking in the business world. We bring you inspiring stories of successful entrepreneurs who've harnessed their gut feelings to overcome challenges and seize opportunities. We also feature expert insights on how to balance rational and intuitive thinking for optimal decision making. Whether you're a budding entrepreneur or an established business owner, our podcast offers valuable lessons on trusting your instincts, embracing uncertainty, and navigating the entrepreneurial journey with confidence. Join me, Marilyn Crump, expert dreamcatcher, as we explore the untapped power of intuition in driving your success. Hello, and welcome to episode 1. My name is Marilyn Crump, and being that this is the first episode of this brand new IntuSuccess podcast, we may have some unexpected things happen. I don't know. I'm not going to try to bring that into reality because, of course, we want to feel confident when we're doing new things. But one of the things in that intro, right, it's embracing the unknown. And when you are trying stuff for the first time, you definitely will have a lot of that going on. And the way I try to do things in my life, which in turn helps me to counsel my clients, is to make sure that I'm not going to be expecting perfection, that I am willing to make mistakes along the way, and that I'm going to learn a lot from being in the action mode. And if you noticed the words expert dream catcher, so one of the things that I have been bringing into my life is a coordinated and elegant way to achieve many goals. And I had been for a long time reading so many books. I'm sure some of you have heard of Napoleon Hill, and you've read things like Think and Grow Rich. You've read perhaps Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich, and other maybe great books on the subject of entrepreneurism. I find it fascinating that a lot of successful entrepreneurs definitely cite books like those books and really create in their processes room to be able to accept new thoughts, intuition, and of course, work those muscles so that they progress in accordance to their vision. A little bit of background about me. Well, actually, maybe a lot of background about me since this is the intro. There isn't anybody that I'm interviewing for this one. Maybe I'm just interviewing myself. Or if you have any questions later, you can interview me and then I can make a podcast about that. My start in life, I would coin it as an introvert moving into different places that were very exciting and scary at the same time. So I was born in the Philippines, and my father had joined the US military, and we had moved from the Philippines when I was 7 years old. I wasn't quite sure of the English language, but in the culture we were at, we spoke what most people will call Taglish, meaning a mixture of Tagalog and English. And so I was picking up lots of wonderful words that were English, and watching a lot of cartoons, American cartoons, helped a lot. And part of that journey was looking at the world through a different lens. So you grow up in one place, then you're uprooted, and then you have to learn a whole new culture, a different language, and then you have to kind of coordinate all the awkwardness that goes with that. And I was always kind of an introverted thinker. I didn't need a lot of people to talk to or express my thoughts to. So I would just quietly observe. And I still love doing that. I love observing things. I love observing nature, people in general, just anything I can look at and learn and glean from. So fast forward becoming a teenager. I definitely loved exploring creativity. I loved to sing. I couldn't dance, but was really interested in learning how to do that. And my mother would loan me out to friends and kind of force me to work for just a few bucks, I guess. And what I mean by that is she loved to sew. So she would sew these like princess costumes. One time she sewed a Pocahontas outfit where she told a friend of hers that for a little bit of money, I would go and sing at the birthday party to the kids. This was way back before they had like professional princesses. So maybe my mom was onto something, but um, uh, I I did it, but I'm not sure if I willingly did it. But I love to sing, so I would get over my trepidation, just do it. One, because my mom's voluntolding me, or kind of paying me to do it, and it was really fun deep down inside. So I had to get over the embarrassment and just really had fun. But what I liked was when I would sing these songs that people's eyes were lit up and the gratitude that people had afterwards. I began singing at church and leading the choir as a cantor in my church and really singing my heart out. So that was wonderful and being able to express. And something about when you're performing, I think a little bit of intuition comes into play because you're trying to feel the music so that you can better express it. And it's not like somebody can really tell you how to do that. You have to start connecting with that deep down inside. I was also very interested in tinkering with the computer. So Netscape came out, AOL and all that. So dial up internet was the new thing. And I proceeded to teach myself how to do HTML coding because I was very interested in creating these things called websites. So, in that regard, I was being creative, and yet it was like an introvert's dream to just work in front of a screen and not really talk to anybody. Now, I was definitely outgoing when it came to social situations. So it was kind of a chameleon. Some of y'all might feel the same way, that you can't just quite categorize yourself as either being introverted or extroverted. But I think when you give yourself time to be a deep thinker, sometimes people might think that you're an introvert, but you really just prefer deep thinking. And what creating websites helped me do was I had to really, really think it out, because when you put code together, it's just a bunch of gibberish. And you have to kind of see what you want in order to program what will come out of that code. And that made me think of goals differently too. Like, what am I doing in the smaller increments to build this bigger vision? So, fast forward into college, I ended up self designing my major at Sweetbriar College. And it was pretty great, although I didn't tell my parents that this is what I was going to do. They were expecting me to be like a brain surgeon, a lawyer, and those big dreams that your parents have for you. I was a biology major, like declaring that, and perhaps psychology. Like I was trying to figure out which of the two sciences were going to be appropriate for what I wanted to do. And I ended up really being miserable and failing one of the classes, not so much because I was doing bad in it. I just wasn't participating, and there was enough time to withdraw, but they said I couldn't withdraw. So I was very upset about that. I felt like there's such injustice here. Like I had enough time. I put in my request to withdraw and it got denied. So I was like so down and upset. And then went to the chaplain at the college, who then mentioned to me, this is not the end of the world. And what's really great that she said was to think about if I have never failed in anything. Because up to then, I was straight A student, loved to like get really high marks and show up and do above and beyond. And then I failed this one thing by a technicality. I was so, so mad. So she said, fast forward into your life. Let's say you have kids or grandkids and they come to you for advice. And then you say, well, I don't know what to tell you because I've never failed. Like, what kind of a nurturer or leader would you be if that's never happened to you? So that just really opened my mind to be thinking, wait a minute, maybe this failure is to my benefit. And then another point that she put in front of me was, what do you really want to do with your life? And at this point, up until this point, no one's really asked me that. Like, me, what do I want to do with my life? And so she said, this is your time. You're going to have to live your own life, not by other people's expectations, because you're the one looking at yourself in the mirror. And I was like, whoa. So, two big revelations all in one discussion. I am so thankful because that's the moment that really changed everything. So that's when I decided I'm going to change my major. I'm going to take 21 hours the last 3 semesters. It doesn't matter, because finally I figured out I can control my life and that I'm going to make the things happen. So I actually started my business, Art Inspired, in college during my senior year. Part of that was me sharing my talents in photography, web design, and then I was also doing a on-campus job with public relations and the career services department. All of these things started snowballing together to be very useful in the real world. So people were asking for my services before I even graduated college. And then I thought to myself, well, why do I need to have a job after college when if I'm already making money now off of my talents, I can certainly do that forever. And that's a decision I made. Fast forward again to graduation. I did not tell my parents that I changed my major. And I was walking across the stage getting my diploma, and they said, Bachelor of Arts, uh, multidisciplinary arts, and it wasn't biology, it wasn't science, it was in bachelor science. My dad did not talk to me for a while. And when he finally said something to me, he just was silent. He goes, I guess it's done. And I was like, yes, yes, it is. So, um, right after that, I was recruited to learn ballroom dance, like teach ballroom dance. I actually had learned it back in middle school and continued on uh, getting more skilled in ballroom dancing. So I worked as a ballroom dance instructor and also freelanced in the movie industry, worked with a casting director who mentored me, and was also doing web design for a nonprofit. I did other different jobs. And of course, as a performer, you're always auditioning. I did commercial work. I did a few films and did some things on TV. I did stuff in front of the camera, behind the camera. I was shooting corporate headshots. I was doing weddings, doing a little bit of videography as well. So anything that I can get my hands on that was creative, it was making me income. And that's very exciting, yet also very nerve-wracking. If you're listening to this and you're creative, you probably understand how that feels. But I will have to tell you that the biggest thing was that freedom, that I could work on whatever project I wanted to next. And I didn't have to know what was going to happen tomorrow. I could just really enjoy and spend my life and my time being present and being in whatever production I was at that moment. Now, would you call that an entrepreneur or a freelancer? I'm not sure. I think in some parts, right, you're creating a business, but you're working those muscles. So by the time I had a family, I had to really then look at my life in a different sense. And I would say that I wasn't still intuitively led. I married somebody that wasn't a great fit for me because it looked good on paper and I was getting pressure from different sources to make that move. And it didn't work out, right? Like somewhere deep down inside, I felt it. I mean, now I could be honest about it. It wasn't right, but I was forcing it to be right. And I kept trying to squish down whatever intuition was trying to pop up to say, this is not the right way. But again, you learn through your mistakes. And one thing that I have discovered about myself is that I'm a better person because of some of the experiences that I had when things were not so good, because it kind of grounds you to say, I know if I walk this path, that these are the results and no question about it, right? Because I've been there, I've failed, just like I was counseled before. I can be that somebody that can relate to how some people are feeling and know the deep pains and know the disappointments and know just what it would take to move from that point of view to a more successful one. And now I use my life as a bridge to help people become more successful. And how I really started getting into intuition was during those times of great grief. I was really looking. I was thinking to myself, this can't be it. I'm a good person. Like, and I would tell myself these things like, I'm a good person, right? Like, I don't think I've done anything wrong to anybody. So why are these things happening to me? And I was kind of blaming outside forces because I didn't realize that I had that power to make these decisions. So I've made good ones, but I relied on being stubborn in order to get what I needed and also deflecting other people instead of accepting people, which is the opposite of that coin, and really maneuvering things based on the bigger vision of how I want my life to go. So seeking things, you look at books, you watch things, you listen to people that may have been there, done that. And when I met my now husband, my super best friend, Kenny, who is just amazing, he really was on this pathway of kind of the same desire. He had also gone through a divorce and had these feelings that life must be better on the other side. And he's the one who introduced me to the movie The Secret. And I was like, oh no. Like, I thought it was like some kind of Twilight Zone episode where he was going to brainwash me because I watched this film. So maybe he did. I don't know. I know that it started really opening my eyes to maybe there's some things that haven't been taught to me that other people are utilizing. And maybe there is something to things about positive thinking, law of attraction. I didn't know. Like I was very faith-based at those and I still am. I still have a pretty good strong faith life. However, I didn't understand philosophies. I was just kind of going through faith life and other life as I was told. Yet if I felt a certain way about it or I wanted to fight for my creativity, then of course I would take a different path. But it was all kind of this fight to take that path, not an acceptance to take the path. And we would have these long discussions, Kenny and I, about what it meant to live differently and watch the things I'm thinking, like watch my thoughts. He would always say, just watch your thoughts and try to keep your thoughts positive. I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, I'm so sad. I'm going through this turmoil. I have 2 kids. I'm divorced. Like, how do I become happy? And how does watching my thoughts make me happy? And he was right. So I would journal, write down my thoughts, but then look at that objectively and say, do I really need to think about it that way? Maybe there's a better way to think about. I found great books on gratitude, so I started creating like a gratitude list. And man, it really does start shifting and retraining your brain. And with that, when you have that shift happen and you start accepting that, okay, there's something to this positive thinking, and then maybe, yes, maybe it attracts things to you if I think positively enough. Okay, what's left to do? Well, let's experiment. All right, so Marilyn wants this, blah, 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 blah. And then it would come true. And I'd be like, wait a minute, how did that just happen? Do you mean to tell me that because I wrote it down and also I thought about it in a good way, that now it's coming together? Yeah, like it crazily, coolly, I don't know all the great words to use at that exact moment when I was feeling that. I was like, something's up with this. There's something really cool about this. And I I know there's debate out there when it comes to things like law of attraction or whatever people want to call it these days. I look at it as there's a deeper intuition that we have present that normally is our gauge to go left or right or stay on the path. And when you have other thoughts and things getting in the way, it creates the static. So you don't find yourself in the right place at the right time when things have always kind of like moved you that way. And for some people, and this fits in a lot of regard where there's this like big hand of God, right? Like placing you, and then you're kind of scurrying off the other way. And it's almost like, wait, but what you want is over here, and it's in a peaceful way. Like I've always had, you kind of get like PTSD because you think, I got to fight for this, right? I got to really like buckle down and, white knuckle, like fight for this. No, like what I learned was this kind of open embrace, like the art of receiving what you want. That's a bigger muscle sometimes because sometimes you work so hard for what you want. And then there's people out there, and I read, these internet comments. Sometimes people just get mad about the littlest things because they're either thinking that that person has it too easy, or, people have to work hard for their money. And so they get mad at these creatives that are making money because they're doing what they feel connected to. And so now I understand, because in that mentality, you're seeing lack everywhere you look. And so you can't handle that because somewhere deep down inside, that you don't have to work so hard, but you're scared, and you don't understand like that your fear is really what's creating all these ugly um, thoughts. And then you have ugly reactions because of what's in yourself, what's coming out of your mouth. And I love that one Bible verse, and I don't know it off the top of my head verbatim, but it's not what you put in, it's what comes out, right? It's not what you put into your mouth, but it's what comes out of your mouth. And I had to learn how to like really put things through a sieve. And I discovered, ooh, look at that right there, that motif, the dream catcher. So when we went to the Grand Canyon, and there was a wonderful tribe, the one of the place that we were at, and they were selling the dream catchers. And so we were asking, like, what's the significance of a dream catcher? Well, they said it filters out, just negativity or bad dreams or something like that. So it's a filter. And so I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. Like, since I was going through my own mental shifts and changes, I really needed to filter what was coming into my head and the things that were messing with my thought process. So I was like, I love that motif. So I use it as a way to kind of remind myself, like, filter it away. But then a fascinating thing happened. We were chasing the eclipse in 2017, and we chasing the eclipse. You have lots of long discussions because, one, you don't know where the right place is to. And this is the year of the eclipse again, 2024. When you chase the eclipse, you have to figure out like where is the best place to plant yourself, because if there's a place that has too much cloud cover, you drove all that way and you can't see a thing. And so we were meandering, chasing the eclipse, and having this really deep discussion about goals. And I was telling my husband, I said, there has to be an elegant way to create a system of what it takes to stay focused and reach your goal. And so I was like, well, I know that in my experience that when I choose where to go, like right now we're chasing the eclipse, I have a direction. Okay. But I also know the next step is I got to clear my mind. I got to clear out other things. I got to dedicate time. So I got to remove stuff. And I was like, maybe remove. And I was like, oh, I like the word relinquish. Right. So I was like, okay, direction, relinquish. And I said, oh, yeah. And in reading, you know, Think and Grow Rich, that largest chapter in that book was organized thinking. So you got to be organized. And Wallace Waddles was always talking about like efficient action. So I was like, yeah, so efficient action has to come after you do the getting rid of stuff. And then when you pick your direction, and I think that's when you build momentum. So I was like, that's very interesting. So I was like, wait, I think this spells something. And I'm like trying to figure out what can I spell, but it spells the word dream. So think about this. Pick your direction, relinquish, whether that means like getting rid of your fears, removing distractions, or letting go of like funds in order to make something more efficient, which is E. And then before you take action, A, you have to map things out. You got to organize your plans. I'm a big proponent of mind maps. You will see me teach that from time to time. And so that way, when you're taking action, it's much more smoother and it's efficient, just like in the book, The Science of Getting Rich. And then after you do all those things, then you reach that momentum point. You can keep going. You can replicate it. You can teach somebody else. It is wonderful. So I have this whole system that I teach about the dream success strategy. So that's why, hence the hashtag expert dream catcher, because you can apply that dream to any situation. Pick a situation, whether it's cooking dinner. Yeah, I'm going to cook dinner tonight. I got to make time. So I got to get rid of this other distraction, or I got to clean up the kitchen, get rid of the dishes that's in the way in the sink or on the stove before I can be efficient. Then when I am efficient, I have all my ingredients ready. I've already shopped for them. They're already kind of cut up so that I can start just cooking, taking the action, and really start inviting then intuition like, think it needs more salt, or maybe if I add a little bit more of this ingredient. Like that's when you're pulling in the intuition because you've done all the other work to allow that action to be more intuitive and inspired, and you're kind of in that flow. And then once you reach the momentum point, ta-da, you have a beautiful dinner. You could share it with others, right? You can nourish yourself. Like there's that momentum point. So momentum is the result of doing the other things. So I love the concept of just thinking and then bringing it about. But I also know that if the person that wrote Think and Grow Rich put that big of a chapter for organized planning and talked about persistent action, it's not just about thinking, right? There's thinking while you're doing. And so almost like you can't just win the lottery, you have to play it. And you have to like not run out of money before the big jackpot because you've spent all your money in the beginning. All these things that even that kind of system, you could still put that in that dream success strategy. And then what happens after momentum? Well, it's very interesting because after momentum, there's this shift again. And so you feel like, oh no. So I'm doing this because I draw it out like a wave. So if you've ever been in one of my classes, I teach the dream success strategy, like an ascension model, like a wave, right? And what happens out with a wave is that once it hits an obstacle, right, that's when it crests up and it has to roll back in. So in the picture, you are retrograding. Like there's that moment where everything's going right until it's not. And then you're feeling this pullback. You're going, what is going on? Like, how come this isn't working anymore? Or you're feeling a sense of now I got to pick a new direction. And that is great because guess what? Momentum is not a flat line, right? Momentum is a plateau when it flatlines. Just like if you work out and you're always working the same muscle, at some point that muscle at that weight or that exercise will plateau. You have to shift and do something different. So when you do that in your goals, you have to ascend to a different level and you're going to feel that pullback because it's meant for you to know that you've already left this situation behind and you're progressing to a new step and you're going to be challenged. You're going to have to really relinquish a whole new level of things. You have to be even more efficient in that way, but it's great because you're taking all these lessons with you. Instead of living this life where it's just up and down, up and down, up and down, you have no sense of whether you're going to be successful. You have no sense of whether the move you're making is the right one. You're just kind of then settling into a life that maybe is not unhappy. Maybe it's not a happy one, or definitely it's hard, or you're fighting like I used to fight for every little thing. And in this new regard, when you learn these different steps, you learn how to craft your life in a more easy manner, and especially important. So if you're hearing some noise, which you may from time to time, I'm a mother of five, right? So two kids from that previous journey. My ex and I had two kids, and then me and my husband have our three kids there. All my kids are amazing kids. And our youngest are identical boys who are autistic. So I used to say nonverbal autistic, but I don't want their future to just be that. So I've started saying minimally verbal because that's the truth, but they are learning words, and we're really taking the time to figure out different ways to expose them to language and movement, adventures, and society. So we're really being creative in that regard. And I'm using the dream success strategy principles there too. Um, when you have those pullbacks and challenges, we see that in our children. And when you are with somebody maybe that it has a special need, the process is still there, but you're going to be the one like lending most of the hand, right? So we're choosing a direction up until the point where they can. And I'm a big believer in assistive technology, and especially with all the wonderful developments that's going to be happening in the world of AI and all of these wonderful techs that are putting their creative brains to solving human needs, issues, etc. I am very hopeful, and excited to see what things come about. Also, I don't know the science, and I just love thinking about it, but I don't know too much about it, at least not yet. Um, if we do have the power to enter into different multiverses, well, then I'm going to choose the multiverse where my kids are going to thrive regardless of any issues that they might have neurologically, right? So I am very happy about that. So I can hear their pitter patter. They're about 8 years old now. So I'm I I love my journey. And so if you're still with me, one, I want to thank you for staying with me. And I don't know if some of the things that I'm saying is impacting you. I hope that the interviews that I have coming up will help you gather new thoughts. Maybe there's things that you can start shifting in your life. And you could be like me, first experiment with it. I mean, what can you lose, right? Like if you start thinking positively and good things happen, then hey, that was perfect. Um, I think for what I'm expecting for this upcoming journey is you'll see me, and if you know me from other things, I've done a lot of marketing, business development, and strategy work. I'm combining a lot of that with entrepreneurship. And even if you're a professional and not necessarily running your own business, then maybe these tips will also help you out. I am a big believer in having the freedom to do all of the wonderful things that's calling to you. And that is much better suited, in my opinion, when you have your own brand, or you could start like making your own money, even if it's a side hustle. I think that that's just very empowering to have that. So we're not boxed in. But I do know some great people that have had long-term careers, and there's nothing wrong with that. Meaning, if you find that your talents are best suited for the place that you are working at the moment, then by all means, give it your all and help a lot of people along the way. And is entrepreneurship hard? Yes, it is, because you're pretty much covering a lot of departments yourself. So if you're a solopreneur, I embrace you. If you are just about to retire and you're not sure what to do next, but you definitely want to do this big dream you've always had, while you were working for somebody else, then well, let's definitely talk because I can introduce you to other people who have been in a similar situation, and maybe you can glean from them like how the transition was successful. So I think that's all that I have for today because, as you know, I'll be interviewing other wonderful guests. And it's pretty cool because the schedule is pretty full for the next few months. And so that means great content is coming your way. If you like what you're watching, or if you're just listening, whatever platform you're on, please follow, like, subscribe, all of the wonderful things. Comment too if you have questions, if you'd like to see some things come about that would help you out, whether it's a retreat. We've done those retreats before under my parent brand, Art Inspired, but we are definitely going to be planning some IntuSuccess retreats, gatherings, get togethers, online networking, you name it, anything that I could provide to give you that wonderful community to help support you in all the changes that you're making. Reinventions are great. And yeah, dream big. Why not? All right. Well, again, my name is Marilyn Crump. You can look me up if you go to marilyncrump.com. I will be updating some things on that website, but also we will be launching the site IntuSuccess. And if you look at how it's spelled, it's INTU, which is intuition, and then success, and I squished it together. So IntuSuccess.com is where you can also find some stuff. So hope you are having a wonderful day as you're listening to this, and I really look forward to getting connected with you. Thanks again. Thanks so much.